show is this? If you know that title, it belongs to She-Hulk episode 9, the finale, and everyone is tearing it apart down to articles, YouTubers, TikTokers, because a lot of people don't like this show. But guess what? I kind of do, and let me explain why. Hello, bit of human. Welcome to Kickoff Flicks. Episode 9, I kind of did like. Why? Because it had like this closure that wasn't completely negative, and it wasn't like this big old fight scene, because I guess you're going to leave that for a different type of season, because it just wasn't this one. This one was meant as a comedy, and I didn't necessarily get the comedy throughout the whole entire season, because a lot of it wasn't funny. I put the blame mostly on the writers, not necessarily the actors. I did enjoy the actors, and I enjoyed the characters that they created, whether how flat or rounded they were. It was fun to see how they interacted with each other. Now, putting that aside, yes, there was a lot of like man shaming, but I think all of it was kind of necessary. Why? Because men think they have a superiority complex where they don't take no for an answer, or they are too privileged, or something at some point in time of how they treat women. And they kind of brought that to light. Now, on the other hand, you had Jen, who wanted to be on a dating site as She-Hulk and to go get laid. Well, guess what? Men do the same thing. There is Bumble and Tinder and God knows how many other sites that are out there. And everyone wants to get laid. No one wants to be like the Hulk and not be in a relationship or potentially, be with somebody for 10 years. I mean, that's seriously insane. I'm 10 years alone. Yeah, no. Nobody wants to do that. In fact, that's the opposite of what you want to do. And then if you really do think about it, Jen didn't have much of a choice but to be She-Hulk even at work because her boss said so. She couldn't say no to any job because it involved money, which I don't care if you're a man or a woman, but if you do have a boss and it's all about how many hours or billable hours you have, well, guess what? You're going to take certain customers that you might not necessarily want. So it has nothing to do with potentially being a man or a woman. It was just the simple fact is that she was a very strong woman that nobody wanted to work with because they don't want to deal with the publicity or accidents. And the one time she did act out, literally she got fired. Which then begs the question, when the hell is she ever going to become a superhero? How can she defend herself or fight or do anything if she's going to get fired by being the Hulk? But then again, at the same time, who's responsible for all the damage she's doing? Is it her, or is it the company, or, is it nobody? Or is it the taxpayers that are going to pay for it? Because as you saw during the show, she literally destroyed buildings and walls and everything during the fights. But, that's not what everybody's complaining about. Everybody's complaining about the comedy. The comedy didn't always land the way I thought it should have. But, I put that on the writers. I don't put that on the actors. Now, the one thing I really did like about this episode is when they kind of did that pause to the home screen, I was like, wait a minute, what just happened? At that point in time, I was readjusting myself. I thought I hit the remote control. I thought I had paused it. And then when she started speaking, I was like, oh, this is a part of the show. I really did like that because it took me out of my element of focusing on the show and be like, okay, where are we going now? It made you think about where we are going. They adjusted your thought. And that's what I like. It wasn't the same monotonous thing. You're focusing on the beginning of the show, you're waiting to the end, and you're just focusing on that aspect. No, they literally changed your train of thought, whether if it was positive or negative. At some point in time, your brain said, what just happened? And that is amazing. Now, did you like what happened after that? Probably not, but that's okay. I did. Why? Because it's a comedy show, and I am going to find something funny when I'm watching something. And I enjoyed that fight scene. I really did. And then the NDA scroll through, I totally get it. Sometimes nobody wants to read. In fact, not sometimes. In fact, nobody wants to read an NDA as long as that. People are just going to scroll through the end, sign it, and then let the consequences be where it's at. We do it all the time. Every time you sign up for, a new program or something, there's always something you have to read, but you just click the box because you don't want to sit there and read 100 pages of warnings and this and that, and you just kind of move on and hope for the best. The conversation with Kevin, I really did like the conversation with Kevin. Why? It wasn't the fact that everything got changed. Kevin could have easily listened to get her out back into the show and then kept everything the same. But did Kevin do that? No, he changed it. Kind of cool. But at the same time, what did they release? The X-Men. Love it. They definitely brought Daredevil back into it, which also reinforced the fact that he is getting his own show. Now, of course, we all know that, but either way, that was kind of cool. And who knows if Daredevil is going to bring She-Hulk into his show. Now, would you like that? Probably not, but I think it might be necessary. Why? It's phase 5. Throw cameos into everywhere. Now, do I think they had too many cameos in She-Hulk? Yeah, I do. But either way, we're going to move on from that aspect and go right back to Kevin. I like the fact that Kevin was an AI that helped write this story. It's not too far-fetched because we are working on AI like crazy. And it would be entertaining if AI was part of writing this story, which would be kind of cool and, imaginative in a way. But either way, that was a really cool take in my weird mind of seeing things. I also enjoyed the Hulk's reveal of his son, which also could potentially bring him getting a solo movie. I would not want to see a TV series about the Hulk. I really wouldn't. Why? Because I would feel very sorry for the animators that have to do that, because I don't think they have enough time to begin with to doing TV shows, because as you saw with the Hulk, a lot of things just didn't match up. But, in a movie, it all looks pretty decent if they have enough time. Now, I don't think She-Hulk is going to get a second season. I hope they do, because in the second season, they had the time to now focus a little bit more on the intricacies of what's going to be happening, specifically formed around She-Hulk. And that is kind of cool in that aspect, that she could actually have an enemy to fight, or, knowing that Abomination isn't in prison, she can go looking for him, potentially. A real fight between Titania and She-Hulk in a creative way, or Titania getting, superpowered goons to kind of go after her. I think that would be kind of cool to see what happens in that dynamic, or maybe her fight or choose a side of somebody. I mean, who knows? Maybe even join a team that, like the Avengers or something, because we know that She-Hulk has been a part of a few different teams. It would be kind of cool to kind of bring all that together to see where she ends up going, or how she's going to be a part of, phase 5. And I hope this isn't the end, because the show kind of did bomb, but at the same time, it wasn't all that bad. I mean, if you really do think about it, who would watch episode after episode after episode and sit there and pray that a show is going to get better, knowing that the writing just is the same? They're not changing the writers. I mean, it is what it is. And I do like the fact that they brought in a lot of the negativity that people were saying into the show. That is not done too often, and I think sometimes should be done a little bit more. I think it was creative on how they did it, because people can recognize their own language or what they say and kind of maybe feel insulted by it. It is what it is, but at the same time, it goes to show you that, guess what? The writers, directors, PAs, Disney themselves, everybody above the line, they're listening to what people are saying. They're going through, they're reading, they're taking that information, they're translating it as best as they possibly can, and then using it. I mean, why not? So technically, guess what? The people are part of the TV show, and why not be proud of that? If there's a season 2, great. I'll probably end up watching it. Hopefully, they'll be a little bit more focused. Now, would I want the same writers? Probably not. Maybe a little bit different, or a little bit more focused might make it a little bit better. Probably they could do a little bit better on their jokes, but either way, we'll see. Let me know what you think about the show. And I know if you're going to say the same thing like everybody else, that's okay. But try to see if you can find any positivity about it. Give me one good thing about the whole entire show, other than, oh, I'm so glad it's over, or I hope that there's never going to be another one, something similar to that. But if you have been here for this long, thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and click the bell notification. And above all else, don't forget to kick up and not down. I'll see you the next time I post. Peace.